We can't tell if there's anybody else signed on to YouTube, can we? No, I'm just curious, that was all. We should, okay. All right, call the meeting to order and I apologize. We had some technical difficulties, getting up and running at 10. So first of all, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands of the First Nations and has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. Particularly, I acknowledge the history, spirituality, and culture of the territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of the Three Fires known as the Ojibwe, Adawa, and Potawatomi nations, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, known collectively as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this area, as well as the contributions of the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples whose ancestors share these lands and waters. May we live with respect for each other on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples. Miigwech. Prior to today's meeting, the board met in closed session to review and discuss matters that, in their opinion, fell under Section 44 of the Community Safety and Policing Act and Section 24, Item B of the Owen Sound Police Services Board General Policy 003 Board Governance. With that, I'd like to have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. And thank you, Cindy. Thank you. Any declaration of conflict of interest arising out of the minutes and matters listed on the agenda? All in favor? Yes, sorry. Thank you. You don't normally cough at me, so I wondered there had to be something wrong. Thank you. All right, where was I before? Declaration of conflict of interest arising out of the minutes matters list. There's no presentation, deputations, or public questions at this meeting. Confirmation of the minutes of the public session held November 21st, 2024. Brian, thank you. Sunit, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Any business arising out of the public session minutes of November 21st, 2024? Hearing none. Correspondence received. There was a joint letter from to the MPP, Rick Byers, requesting equitable funding for municipal policing from Westgate, Hanover, and the city of Owen Sound. And this goes back to the $77 million that the Ontario government was providing to municipalities to help offset the costs of OPP. There was also a joint letter to Honorable Michael Kersner regarding the $77 million that was sent out by the OSPSB and the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police. Yesterday, we received a resolution from Smith Falls, which we will include in the minutes of this meeting. The resolution requested that Province Street Ontario municipalities equitable with support and funding to assist managing and increasing costs of policing. Item D, we also received correspondence from Allison Penner, the Deputy Clerk with City of Owen Sound, respecting resolution S241209-020 dated December 10th, and that in consideration of the Owen Sound Police Service 2024 draft budget, City Council directs staff to request that the Owen Sound Police Service Board limit its 2025 budget increase to 5%, and that those funds will be placed, funds saved by the reduction, into capital reserve. And I think that means a reduction of approximately, what did we talk about, 65 or 50,000? I think it was 50,000 that was reported on the tapes. And the board approved this budget that they reduced was approved at our November 21st meeting, and the chief ambulance presented this board council on December 9th. What would the board like to do with this resolution? How would they like to respond to it? Send it back.
Second that.
So it's the that we send it back and
Like with explanation, or
yeah, there should be.
I don't want to just, man, it doesn't sound right.
Yep, with the explanation like what Chief mentioned about funding and
I just think there needs to be more communication.
So send it back and explaining why this is not possible to reduce this amount.
Yep.
And outlining additional factors we found out since that time. that capture what you'd like to? All right, I'll. Hmm?
So just for clarity, you want the board chair and I to sit down and outline and create a report or a letter outlining the pressures and indicating why, and then submit it on behalf of the board. Is that?
Well, I don't know, what's your, like, do you think you can do like a written explanation, or do you think it should be a presentation?
Just off the top of my head, I think a written explanation would be good. And you'd like the opportunity to explain it in council and the opportunity for councilors to ask questions for clarity.
Yeah, because I think like originally you made your presentation. And then you weren't there when they made the final decision. I just think, you know, there's got to be an opportunity to have some kind of an explanation. And, you know, if it's back the same, it comes back the same. At least this in itself shows that, you know, we've got some concerns that this can't be done.
Ian, any thoughts?
Well, I assume you're going to vote for it, so it carries, but, you know, I'm here in this committee as mayor, that's why I'm here. As mayor, I've got to defend the right of council to be able to make budget decisions, which they have. 28% of the city's levy will go to policing, including fire being 2 emergency services. That adds up to 45% of the budget. It's getting more difficult for councils that are being squeezed and everything. We're squeezing other departments to try and keep money down, as you just discussed a while ago. Given that we've got arbitrated costs, arbitrated contracts with firemen and with the policemen, arbitration is really replication.
We haven't done it arbitrated with police.
You can let me finish. It is an arbitrated system. Our policemen maybe have not gone to arbitration, but they've got a right to go to arbitration, and we settle things. We settle contracts based on what is likely to happen or could happen at arbitration. They're arbitrated. Arbitration is replication. It's replication of the wages that are going. When we have a province pays the OPP to be the highest police force, it means it's going to be replicated through the rest of the police forces. I mean, no disrespect to an officer of the OPP, but they, for the most part, do not come close to carrying the freight the city wants on police officers on the street. Not even close. They don't have the same responsibilities. They're not dealing with the same things. They're not dealing with the same volumes of call. But yet the OPP are getting paid the highest, which means at some point as we go through budget arbitration or budget review based on arbitrated wages, that we have to answer that. We've got a province that's just found $77 million to support communities with OPP costing when they've already had subsidized policing for years, and our taxpayers are expected to carry the freight on sound policing when other communities are getting subsidized by the province. It's not right. Council has the right to make decisions and budgets. They have to try and figure out how to manage that. We have sent a lettering signed by myself, the mayor of West Grey and Hanover, on the same thing. We're being squeezed like crazy, and we don't know how to do it any other way. So from my point of view, I support council. I think I need to support council. Clearly, there's a majority here that wants to send it back to council for review. And that's the appropriate thing to do and for council to review it. But as mayor, I need to defend the rights of council to make the decision with all the pressures that are on it.
So that's fair. And I just want to make sure that the relations are kept up. And the only way we're going to do that is through communication. And I think you should have the opportunity to speak on it. That's the point of the motion being sent back.
Good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? All right, moving on to Chairman's report, just briefly, since our last meeting, this is for the open session. I attended the OSPSB Directors Meeting on November 25th, and then on 25th, 26th and 27th, Chief Ambrose and I attended the OSPSB Labor Conference. And then on Tuesday, December the 10th, Chief Ambrose and I also attended the OAPS Zone 5 meeting in Guelph. I have nothing else to report for this open meeting. Under governance, I don't have anything specifically for this meeting. Dwayne and Hank, do you have anything for this open session?
Through the board chair, no, I think at this time, I have nothing to report, from the IOP.
Thanks, Dwayne. Hank, do you have anything?
Nothing, sir. Thank you.
What's that?
We publicly recognized.
Oh, absolutely. Just for those people who are tuning in, Dwayne Sprague, or advisor from the ministry, he's retiring, lucky guy, as of December 31st this year. And Hank's there. He's been tagged to fill in for Dwayne after his retirement. So welcome, Hank. Appreciate that. And we'll look forward to seeing probably in person the first time it doesn't snow up here in Owen Sound. So, okay. All right. Moving on to, I think, item number 11, reports from Inspector Bishop.
Feature you want to plug one.
Oh, it's Reach here?
Yeah.
Sure.
Up to you.
You have a fair break?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, guys, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Reach is here and they provide us a little snack cart. So let's get some desserts. We'll enjoy them in your absence. There's good reason to come to the meetings now. We'll just call the meeting back to order and moving on with reports from Inspector Bishop.
Just tell me what order we're in, so I can. There's a manual, I'm assuming it's CIDs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so criminal investigations at branch and drug enforcement. For November, homicides, we've sort of left that as a ongoing item on there. However, I can announce that we, either this afternoon, we'll be doing a media conference here at the service jointly with the OPP with respect to the Raman homicide. There'll be some more information coming out on that one in a few hours. In terms of the other calls they worked on, we had a stabbing earlier at the very start of November. Charges have been laid. There are some other assistance items that CIB worked on in terms of a sexual assault and domestic assault. Amhart statistics and training are down there. One thing I will point out is we've just now started into some of the homicide trials. There was a first portion of a preliminary hearing for the Macintosh homicide. It tied up 2 of our members for a week, and it is not concluded yet, which is only the first portion of that trial moving forward. So, with respect to drug overdoses, we had one in November. I believe we've had at least 2 now in December, which is going to put us up to, I think, probably 15, if not higher, which is going to be the highest year we've ever had here, you know, in sound, which even surpasses the COVID year, which was out of whack across the province in terms of the numbers. So we are not trending in a good direction. I spoke about xylazine, I believe, at the last meeting, and I'm certainly seeing the effects of that. The officers having to use a lot more doses of naloxone, and in some cases, in more cases, it's not being effective. So we're not trending in the right direction with that.
Just a quick comment on that. The use of the Grey County EMS got approval for a scatter device through funding through the federal government, and that's been extremely beneficial, taking some of the samples that we are that our officers are seizing to have them analyzed as a non-destructive testing, and they analyze and they're able to tell us immediately what's in those products, and that's where we came across the xylazine. But we've also come across some other fentanyl derivatives that are, you know, double the potency of regular fentanyl and things such as that. So it's been really helpful in sending out notices through public health and being able to test those products and get an immediate answer.
Question on that. Traditionally, over the past number of years, certainly through COVID, it tended to be male, it tended to be middle-aged, it tended to be at home in their own homes. Is that pattern still the same? Or are we seeing more people basically on the street than we would have about a few years ago?
I don't think the mix has changed. I wouldn't necessarily look and say it's predominantly male. It affects both. We've certainly had quite a number of females. It's more related to the disorder than anything else. I would say majority are housed, whether it's they're precarious or not, but there have been a few obviously out on the street. But I don't think it's changed a whole lot in the mix, Chief, unless you saw anything different.
It may be a little bit more in the public eye now than it was in the past. I believe, and that may be, and it may be as a result of some higher profile individuals that people within the community have either known or seen or aware of. But it's still, it's an increasing problem and the bigger issue. And we are looking at public drug use and a new strategy starting in January. Some of the activities, and that's obviously subject to officer availability and officer complement.
What I have reported on in the past is more often than not, there's naloxone available, if not sitting right next to where the person expires. The problem is you can't administer it to yourself if you're unconscious. So that's been a lot of the messaging that's come out of public health, is to don't use alone and let somebody know and that kind of thing. But yeah, more often than not, you know, it's either in a drawer next to the bed or that sort of thing. It's not a case of getting naloxone out there as the sort of the magic drug for this. It's the having somebody able to administer it in those situations. So. Okay. And the auxiliary report. So November and December, obviously the busy months for our auxiliary, 233 hours of volunteer time. I reported last month on the overall approximate total for the year, what we see from the auxiliary, and a sort of a number that would be attached to that if we were paying for it. November 2nd, the annual Pass the Hat fundraiser in support of Special Olympics happened with the Sound Attack. November 11th, we had quite a few of our auxiliary members out participating with us for Remembrance Day ceremonies. The Santa Claus Parade is always the big event. It was well staffed and very well attended this year. Probably one of the warmest ones, at least that I can remember. Went over very well. And the food drives have started. They've actually completed now. You'll get a report in January for the results. Just will give you a heads up. The numbers are down this year, but that probably shouldn't be surprising given the cost of food and the current economic climate that's out there. We had a resignation of a member, where member Janelle Carol Barube submitted her resignation effective December 1st. Brings our total number of auxiliary members to 14, and we are planning to do an auxiliary intake at some point in the new year, probably right after the Citizens Police Academy concludes, because that generally brings some interest from some of our attendees with respect to volunteer opportunities with the service. So, that's there any questions? Core. So our core team, as I've reported before, we're hoping to get our core unit upstaffed given January rolls around here, because we've been operating at a deficit for the better part of the year between homicides and staffing issues. So you can see the core team spent, which is really one officer right now, 54 hours in foot patrol, did a number of special events within the community that are all listed there, including some of the ones that the auxiliary was also tied with. Foot and bike patrol locations are listed, as well as the assistance provided to the uniform members during the month. And a number of investigations are listed and training. So that's a report that, other than the hours, is generally tendered for review in advance. Any questions on the core? They had the second member, I believe, on it. Last one is our bail compliance and our branching team. Again, that has been running short due to staffing issues. It is one officer, and we hope to rectify that again in January. Those are grant funded positions, as is core. So 7 hours of foot patrol, 65 criminal charges. That's a very impressive number for one officer out there plugging away. That shows what can be done when some proactive time is available to do that. As well as 6 compliance checks. So the remainder of the report is just the general information with respect to what the officer engaged in for the month, in terms of the types of investigations and what makes up those 65 charges that we saw up above. There was also some training that went on. And absent of that, that is the bail compliance and warrant branching team.
Great. Any questions from anyone?
Mhm.
Moving on to reports from Inspector Fleeney.
Thank you. Well, I'll start with frontline patrol and collision statistics. So during the month of November, we had 103 highway traffic act charges, 63 cautions, 191 criminal code charges, 18 provincial offenses act, and other acts and bylaw charges, and 9 hours of patrol. There were 16 on-duty ride checks, 276 drivers checked, and 10 HDA charging warnings issued. There were 4 impaired drivers driving charges laid during the month. And we're now into the festive ride season. We're having additional ride programs going on in the city. No questions. Go to collisions. Not much has changed there. 45 collisions during the month, 20 on the east side, 7 on the west side, and 18 in parking lots. But 10 failed to remains. 28 of those collisions were handled by the Collision Reporting Center and 17 investigated by our officers. Moving on to community services, involved in several committee meetings during the month: community safety and well-being, school board, community school officer committee, youth and policing initiatives, the provincial meetings, Citizens Police Academy, getting that prepared for early in 2025. He had presentations at Central Place on elder abuse and scams related to the Christmas season, at OSPSB for safe driving, St. Dominique for social media and internet safety, and at Alexander School for making safe choices. And he also attended the crisis intervention course held here at the police service. We have a couple pictures there in the package. One is Walk for Emily. So Emily Soaks was an employee here for a short time and unfortunately passed away due to colorectal cancer. So they held a walk here to help raise money for research into that. Also some photographs there from the Santa Claus parade. And moving on to lost hours and training, we had 17 full-time members report sick or injured during the month of November for a total of 468 hours. We still have 2 members on WSIB for a total of 336 hours. Training during the month, we had the special constable training course going on with 4 new members trained internally. They've now completed that. We have somebody on the frontline supervisor course. We had somebody on the power course, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and 21 members of the service had training in crisis intervention, de-escalation training. It was a course held here at our police service for a week during November. And our 3 recruits continued their basic constable training at the police college, and they have now successfully graduated. They're doing their standard field sobriety training to do with detecting impaired drivers. That's what they're doing this week, and they'll be back on Friday for their swearing in. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions for the inspector? Moving on to reports from Director of Civilian Services, and I guess Jeff is that.
Which one?
Sorry, the Director of Civilian Services would be the.
I don't have reports. Oh, that one with you. So
Space. Batch, yeah.
oh,
No,
dispatch?
no.
No.
No?
Sorry,
Oh, bulk records, I'm sorry.
Records.
Court.
So this is a standardized report that we give you every month.
Yeah.
It's really statistics based in terms of our bulk record checks. Those are the third-party records checks that we do receive some income from doing. So you can see the numbers there with respect to our numbers being a little bit down this month over October 2024. However, if you look at our 2024 year to date, we are up close to 5% with respect to if you look at the same month in November 2023, it's slower as well. I imagine it's a bit of a holiday slowdown with respect to the requests that we do get in. So that's just shown as a chart down below. executed warrants per month. See, March was actually the start of our bail compliance and warrant apprehension team. So you saw a big spike in warrants being executed and numbers fairly consistently up over 2023, and that'll be with respect to the extra work that's being done on that from that team. This chart just shows you charges laid monthly. Big month in November with respect to the number of charges, probably due to bail compliance, the number that I reported to you earlier.
One significant thing is that the last 4 months have really been much higher than the previous year, like they aren't even close on the graph. By the number of charges being laid.
Yeah, and we are busier as well, which contributes to that too. For operational statistics, very similar to last month. The number of custodies transported. See the year to date is up. That's reflective of getting out of COVID, and now most of the court functions being returned back up to the courthouse. So you've seen a huge spike, but that's the explanation for that 276% spike that you see there. It's consistent with both the OPB and us, and that's the reason for that. Yeah, it's just a chart representation of the numbers that you see. And special constable hours remain relatively consistent with last year, at least in slightly less actually in 2020. The rest is just the explanation, and that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Steve. Moving on to item number 14, now the dispatch report.
I can handle that. In November, there was 5,149 incoming 911 calls, representing an average rate of 171 calls per day. The center transferred 3,305 of the answerable 911 calls and dispatched 1,373 of these 911 calls in November. The average dispatch rate of 911 calls was just over 45 per day. Volume and rates of answerable, transferred, and dispatch 911 calls in the center are all down in November compared to the previous month. Similar in volume and rate compared to November of 2023, and all down so far year to date. And I see one of the contributing factors is in the graph that's enclosed with the no answer 911 calls. So the pocket dials have dropped significantly in 2024. Calls that are dispatched through CAD come through a variety of sources, such as the non-emergency phone line, walk-ins, officer-generated calls, as well as the 911 phone line. In November, the center dispatched a total of 5,840 calls for an average dispatch rate of 194, almost 195 calls per day in November. Although down 4% from the previous month, the year-to-date increase in dispatch volume is up almost 5%, attributable to both police and fire agencies dispatched by the center. The overall 2023 average dispatch rate was 176 calls per day, compared to the average dispatch rate so far in 2024 is 187 per day. The average daily dispatch rate for the Owen Sound Police Service in November was just over 51 calls per day. And although in decline from the previous month, was greater than last November's daily rate of 47 calls. So far, the overall average year-to-date daily dispatch rate for the Owen Sound Police Service is on par with last year. Trends over the past 11 months of 2024 show the first 6 months the police services dispatch volume lower than last year, while July to November volume is greater than last year's dispatching demands. And there's various graphs enclosed in that package showing the dispatch rates. That's it for vacations.
Thanks, Inspector.
Would you like me to, sorry, there's the IT portion as part of that.
Sure, yeah.
So during the month, 2 IT technicians were deployed to Eastern Ontario to complete the last of the installations sessions out there. One final visit remains for January of 2025. Netigen, our next gen 911 vendor, completed hardware installs, and IT is working with them on a daily basis to complete certification and onboarding. A number of work tickets they were processing related to changes in the new communications center for procedures and fine tuning of workflow. IT began assisting the Smiths Falls Police Service with a large number of IT requirements for modernization, which will continue in 2025 with an annual support contract. And the dispatch center recently completed its CAD upgrade, which provides new hardware and software, as the previous version was originally released 4 years ago. This was conducted by the vendor, the provincial government, and our own IT people. This required many days of preparation and programming with communication to all of our dispatch clients. And that's it for IT.
Moving on to report from Human Resources.
Yeah, I'll cover that. So the Health and Safety Committee stopped operating in 2018 on an official basis. Obviously, there was some work going on, but we're getting that going up and going again in the joint Health and Safety Committee with the association. And they'll do inspections in the new year. There are several policies and procedures that need to be developed and rolled out as well, and we'll be in touch with our individual who have assist with that. There's a recruitment, obviously, across the board for part-time dispatcher and experienced constables, but we're really seeing a drop in the number of applications. Most of the people that are coming forward are coming through word of mouth and through officers and members of the service doing the recruiting on their own. So we need to explore other options to reach other candidates. So we've done some work on social media, but there's also, I was approached by an individual about from frontline coaching to assist candidates in practicing for exams to become recruit constables, sergeants, and inspectors. The video, he's proposed that we do a video making the Old Sound Police Service a destination of choice, and it would be promoted on the website as part of the coaching materials. And it would focus on the unique and special culture we have here, along with the benefits of the area itself. There's a one-time fee for the video production of $10,000. We'd have the right to use the material for other purposes going forward, for our own social media posts, website, etc. We're still in discussions with that, and we'll bring it back to the board for approval if we decide to move forward with that. But I wanted to highlight the fact that we have to start doing something, especially the numbers that we're looking for, and we're going to have to draw from a larger municipal area than just Grey Bruce in order to attract candidates and quality candidates to the area. And we need to really promote the service as a location of choice. So we're working on some initiatives to try and move that forward as part of the operations plan and succession, long-term succession, and developing a sustainable workforce. Member wellness, there's been a lot of feedback from the fall block training. Identifying job stress as a concern, and we're looking at possibly partnering with Public Services Health and Safety Association to use occupational stress injury resiliency tool. It's administered and it's an online service that we gives a baseline measurement on how your members are doing, identify areas of concern, and hopefully address those before they become a significant impact on your environment. Training and professional development. The HR manager attended a training on equity, diversity, and inclusion in the service, and he was working with to provide and develop an EDI procedure or template for the service. And they're looking at providing to allow us to evaluate our existing procedures and practices during the equity lens. Several senior staff, along with HR manager, attended one-day training on best practice to address incivility, harassment, and discrimination in policing. I attended as well as Inspector Clooney, I believe. And that was done online. And we had we had a number of people retire or resign from police, from the organization. And we had hired to replace an individual as a new recruit. And we have a couple of sergeants that have indicated they'll be retiring in the new year. So looking for candidates, we're actively recruiting, and interviews will be scheduled starting in January.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 16, financial update.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I just wondered,
Yep.
just because of the motion for the, accept the resignations and retirements,
Oh, okay, sure, we can do that.
the formalization of it.
It might be a note to do the letter, but okay. All right, could I have a motion to accept the, Brian?
To accept 4 resignations.
Yes, I think we've. Yes. Okay, yeah,
It would be, it would be a motion to accept the resignations as tendered and provide correspondence of confirmation of that.
and acknowledgement. Brian, there's a seconder for that, Cindy? All in favor? Now they got the template letter, will be faster coming back. All right, good, thanks. Moving on to financial update.
Yeah, so there are some, so looking at it, they're in the area of approximately even, estimated deficit of $282 by the end of the year. So generally, and that's taking into account a contingency on wages we would need to move into next year. We're in a good spot considering we only have a couple weeks left in the year and we're right on budgets. Subject to any questions?
Okay, moving on to chief's activity reports.
So a couple highlights, we met with the Dr. McPhee from the Ontario Coroner's Office and Dr. Khan, a local coroner, Inspector Clooney and I, and just discussed some of the expectations and some of the practices that we've been seeing, and they wanted to introduce Dr. Khan as he's new to the role, and Gray and Bruce. So that was a very productive meeting with the two of them, and introduced them to our investigators as well. Attended the Community Safety and Wellbeing Star Table Training Day, and it focused on First Nations and Two-Spirited LGBTQS plus training, and that was held at the Bayshore. It was a good session. As well, spent back and forth to Blue Mountain for the Cambridge University and Barrie Police Services Evidence-Based Policing Conference, and really that was cutting edge. They had speakers here from all over the US and Europe talking about evidence-based policing and data-driven and informed decision-making. So it goes hand in hand. Barrie's leading cutting edge on that in that area, and their chief's very progressive, and so that goes along hand in hand with some of the access to our data that we're going to become available. That's going to become available through our optic partners at the government level, and so that we can start designing dashboards and we can start designing reports. Much as you've seen now with the dispatch reports, we'll be doing a lot more evidence-based and statistical reporting on all crimes and activities. So a really excellent presentation there over the day and a half. The other things were we had a first responders fair and at the OHL attack game, and we had almost 100 tickets for first responders throughout Gray and Bruce and their families to attend the game, and there was a job, fair in the area for service providers, basically from mental health to physical supports and all those other things. And it was really well attended and everybody was pleased with the outcome. And so that's about the highlights of it, I think. So we also met with our new Crown Attorney for Grey County, Patrick Clement. He's taking an active role in a number of our investigations and as well be a good supporter for the Owen Sound Police Services. They transition away from having one Crown Attorney lead both Grey and Bruce counties, and it was overwhelming, and the availability just wasn't there. So that's some of the highlights.
Chief? Moving on to other items and new business, item number A, 2025 budget, and I think we dealt with that under correspondence, but I'm going to talk about that much more. Next item was the updated board policy to comply with the new CSPA that they need your approval on. I think you all saw my email from last week, which outlined that back in May of 2023, the board had approved 91 updated policies, an additional 4 policies in June. These policies are all approved back then and they have been posted to the website. We have to update these policies as a result of the new CSP coming into effect in April. The updates that we've made do not affect the intent or purpose of the policies, but rather update references from PCA to CSPA and some minor language changes just to clean it up a little bit. The one we do have to look at is General Policy 003, Board Governance. It has the same specific changes to comply with the CSPA, but also Dave Preston, who has helped us out with that, has highlighted areas in yellow that indicate it's actually changed to the policy that we need to review and approve. And I think I sent it out ahead of time, hoping to give you a chance to review those changes. And based on that, is there any questions or discussions on policies not related to General Policy 003? These are the ones basically that were just all the changes were done in blue to indicate CSPA changes or compliance. I guess this is the biggest one. Having no questions, could I have a motion to approve these policies? Ian, thank you. Sinead, thank you. All in favor? Carried. The next one would be the motion to approve the updates and changes to General Policy 003, Board Governance, and the changes that were made by Dave on this. Brian, thank you. Seconder, Sinead, thank you. All in favor? Carried. The other thing that we talked about with Dave, rather than Kayla and I having a sign-in party, we've come up with a way that we can electronically sign this, and it will better serve the requirements of the that's done. So they'll all be individually signed as opposed to going back and saying, well, this was a meeting that they were approved at, and then trying to do a comparison list. It'll be right on the document that says it's approved. Update, next item is item C, update on discipline report for second half of 2025. Anyone have that report? I think that was the one.
I could tell you that I don't see it in the package, but there was no discipline that was reportable, but there's a
I think that was the one that was also supposed to be done in June and posted.
We did.
Yeah.
What we didn't do is post it to the website.
Right, exactly. And we're looking for a space.
It needs to be done every 6 months, so.
A home for that.
Scott is the.
Website.
Yeah. We you. Right?
Yeah.
I think. Is that the last item? I've got the spinning wheel of death here, but.
No, always. No, we can move on to the next one and come back to it then. Move on to the next item, D. It's regarding a new secondhand shop application. The board has received an application for a new business, and actually it's just a business name change, going from Hawk Stars Owen Sound. It's been incorporated with a new business name of Hawk Stars Owen Sound Inc. There's no new business attached to this. It's just the application and name change, just to make sure we can file this paper properly with their bylaw officer. So if I could have a motion to approve the application business, is that okay? Ian, thank you. Ryan, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to item number D, 2025 OSP meeting dates. I think we looked at these at our last meeting. They were sent out in draft. Everybody's looked at them. One of the things we want to do is to move, and Helen, if I get this right, move the January 29th date back a week until January 22nd. All the remaining names or dates to remain the same at this point in time.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I did.
So if we're okay with those, again, as we go through the year, those dates may change depending on people's schedules and other things that may happen, but this is the new dates we'll be looking at now.
Are you gonna send those?
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Actually be posted on the website. But if I just could have a motion for the approval of the 2025 meeting dates, Brian? Cindy, thank you. All in favor? Moving back to item number 2. Date on discipline.
I did finally get it up here. This is called the Community Safety Policing Act Aggregate Disciplinary Report, which is now a new requirement as of April 1st. That twice a year, Chief of Police shall report in accordance with the regulations, Police Service Board, regarding the aggregate disciplinary measures the chief has taken under this part. So we first reported this back in June 1st. Report on. So this report now covers time period from June 1st to December 1st. During this time period, it's imposed a disciplinary measure on 2 occasions. First case, the chief substantiated under section 19 of the Code of Conduct for Police Officers. And that particular code says a police officer shall not by act or admission fail to perform their duties appropriately without lawful excuse, if at the time they know or reasonably ought to know that their act or omission would amount to a failure to perform their duties appropriately. Chief in this instance imposed a penalty of a written reprimand authorized under section 200 sub 1 sub 4 of the CSPA. In the second case, the chief determined that misconduct had been substantiated under section 28 of the Code of Conduct, which states a police officer shall not lose or cause damage to clothing, equipment, or other property issued to them, or obtained or made available to them in the course of their duties, except as may be necessary to perform their duties as a police officer. Again, in this case, the chief imposed a penalty of a written reprimand as authorized under section 200 sub 1 sub 4 of the CSPA. Compliance with section 9 sub 4 of regulation 90/24, it is recommended the board on approval publish this report to the services website within 30 days of receipt. One of the many new obligations of the CSPA. They go through that, we don't find ours.
I'm not sure why that has.
CSPA. Date for the.
Everything comes out of the late administration and the oversight bodies is also published now to their websites as well. So Special Investigations Unit or LECA publishes their findings as well.
We should maybe look at some like an umbrella heading, and then LECA and this and whatever other ones might go underneath it. Might be a good idea. Set it up that way.
Okay.
It's like the missing persons report that we do every year.
Yep.
It also has a published obligation annually that we add out. So there needs
So-
a little section of
Published obligations? Published obligations or obligations to publish? Then we can set a tree up underneath it for the different areas. All right, we talked about the meeting dates. Moving on to last one. Having completed all the items listed on the agenda, I hereby declare to be terminated. Yeah.
Just before we terminate, while we're still in open, want to thank Dwayne for all the guidance he's given us. We both started about 2014, so it's like 10 years ago that Dwayne's been giving us guidance, met with our council to give them a bit of education, and that helped us certainly here at the table and along the way. And we really want to thank him as he retires, and thank him for all the help that he's given just before we sign off. So thanks, Dwayne. If you're there. Computer's on, he's fallen asleep.
Dwayne is there. Actually, he's on a phone call right now as well. He just messaged me. He is there. I promise you, sir.
It's recorded for all to hear.
You got big shoes to fill there, Hank, but I'm sure you can do it. We look forward to working with you.
I'm seeing that. Thank you. Looking forward to it as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Hank?
you, Dwayne.
Thanks, Dwayne. He's not there yet, but anyways, Merry Christmas to both of you, and we'll see you in the new year.